You know, when we're bombarded with many different ideas of what a family should look like, you know, if we look at the institution of the family today, the basis of it and stability of it is really under fire, it's under attack. If you look around us, there are a lot of people who come from broken homes, whose parents are separated, and who, you know, who are probably living in with someone. We're having children out of wedlock. And, you know, it's unfortunate, but these are the things that are happening in today's world. Even the traditional form of a family is being questioned in today's world and being challenged today. You know, there are homosexuals who are adopting, and that's a family. And so we want to really face up to this attack that is really, you know, families really being under attacked. And we are so inundated with it, with today's media and with how everything else is, that we sometimes forget, we sometimes think that, oh, it's okay because it's the norm, everybody does it, why not, right? But really God's plan for the family is very different than what the world sees the family should be today. You know, and I'm not saying that because you might be coming from a broken home or anything like that, that your family's bad family. That's not necessarily what it means, but there are ways for us to be able to put God's plan back into the family, and we are a means and an instrument to it. So what is really God's plan for the family? Well, we know that the family is the basic unit of society. If you look around today, there's so many families that are just, it's just a, you know, it's a statistic that 50% of all these marriages end in divorce. You know, the newest news of Kim Kardashian after 72 days, you know, it's a very sad idea that people don't take marriage into such a high ideal, that they use it for publicity stunts or, you know, whatever their reasons are, but, you know, they don't really take this seriously. And God's plan is so concrete that he states it right from the get-go of the Bible. You know, in Genesis, he says that he created man in his image, and in his divine image he created them male and female, you know, a guy and a girl. He created them, and he said he blessed them, and he wanted them to multiply, to fill the earth with, and have dominion over the fish, over the birds, over all living things. And that was God's plan, was to have a man and a woman. You know, because in the beginning, God created just man, and then he created all these birds, animals, but it wasn't a suitable companion. As we see that in Genesis, it wasn't a suitable companion for man, these animals. Yeah, they're nice companions. You know, we all have pets. I have a nice cat. She thinks she's family. She thinks she's people. You know, when our family prays together, she comes to the room or wherever we are at, and she'll sit there for a while. And, you know, my mom says, oh, look at the cat. She's better than you guys. When we go to pray, she comes right away, you know? So, because sometimes it takes us a while because we're, you know, we're finishing something or we're watching TV, and we shouldn't really, but, you know, so, you know, it just shows you that these are nice companions to have, and I love my cat until she drives me nuts, but, you know, it's not a suitable companion for us. And even man saw that. Adam even saw that. You know, he was looking for someone, and when God finally took a rib from Adam and created Eve, he said, this finally is bone from my bone, flesh from my flesh, you know, and it was a perfect creation that God had made to be able to physiologically fit, to be able to create more of God's beings, you know, because we are all created in the image and likeness of God. So we are all created to be able to find, hopefully one day, you know, a suitable partner for us, you know. You know, I'm hoping someday that I'll be able to find, someday soon, hopefully, a suitable partner, a suitable man who will be able to take care of our family. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate that. God intended man and woman to be one, not independent individuals producing babies, but husbands and wives raising a family. By profession, I'm a teacher. This whole week for me has been crazy because I wasn't really scheduled to give this talk. And something came up, which is, you know, something that always happens. But Jivy and I were tossing this around, and I said, I'll do it. And I don't know why I haven't said yet, but you know, I think God was speaking to me because all week this week I was meeting with all the different parents for parent-teacher conferences. And I don't know if you guys remember when you were younger, your parents had to talk to the teachers, and you're all like, I wonder what my teacher's going to say. So I was that one talking to all the teachers, and I invited also the students to come because I wanted them to hear what I'm telling their parents, and the parents can say, see, your teacher also says the same thing, type of thing. But it's really nice to be able to see that in a family who comes together. Or, you know, I've had parents who said, can we please, I've had 3 7:30 conferences this week, and I am not a morning person by any means, so getting up for a 7:30 meeting is hard for me. But it's because these parents want to come together. They don't want just the mom or just the dad. Both of them wanted to come to be able to show support. So you could see how nice it is. So I really made the effort to be there, even though I had to get up extra early at 7:30. But you know, it's those things, those sacrifices that are worth it, because you really want to be able to encourage these families who are really working and striving to help their children. You know, God's plan, besides being the basic unit in society, is also a place for teaching and training children. During my conferences this week, I was talking to a parent and I said, oh, you know what, I'm so happy that I just want to let you know that your daughter's doing such a nice job, but I also wanted to tell you what wonderful things you're teaching her, because she got in trouble along with other girls because they were making a mess in the playground in the school campus, and when I asked, nobody fessed up. They're all not talking. So I said, okay, fine, if that's how you're going to do it, then I took away, because they were going outside, they were drawing and writing notes to each other. But because they made a mess, I said, that's it. Nobody can take out pens, crayons, markers, notebooks. That's it. That's the end for my class. She was the only student who came up to me after that and apologized. So I complimented the mom for that. And we could see how these little things, even though it is tiny, it is little, these are the things that really make up the core of the person. That it has to start from the home, because the mom, when I complimented her on that, the mom was very thankful for it. And she was really appreciative that I was able to see that from her daughter, you know. So it's really a place to transmit wisdom and to transmit values for your family. And wisdom is really not just knowing a lot of things, but refers more to the practical ways of living according to God's ways. So teaching really is not formal, but rather comes in everyday activities in the home. You know, our parents truly are the first teachers for us, because they are teaching us, you know, you don't cross the street, the basic stuff, but it also teaches us the more common things. You know, as a young kid, my parents, my mom was the more religious of the two parents, which is probably most of the case for some families. But she was the one who would always encourage us to go pray, to go to church, go to Mass, and all of those kinds of things. And, you know, so I learned those values of going to church, going to Mass through my mom. And eventually when my dad joined the Community for Couples for Christ, he was the one who was really initiating, and he was the one who would be getting mad if we were running late, whereas before it didn't matter to him, or if we were watching TV before, he would like, oh, there's still 2 minutes in the basketball game, so we'll wait afterwards. But now it's like he's the one who gets mad if we don't come and when they say it's time to pray. So that's when you really see how it helps, and it starts really in the home. And now I see my sister, who went through Community and now is married with 3 boys of her own. You know, when the boys come over and sleep over, when they wake up in the morning, they pray. And they usually do their morning prayers, and they just say, you know, it's really what comes from a 3-year-old or a 6-year-old. You know, they say, good morning, Jesus, good morning, Mama Mary. You see the values that are being taught, and they say, thank you for being with us last night, or even before they go to bed, they say, please watch over, amas, apas, which is what they call my mom and dad, grandparents, my titos and my titas and my cousins and my friends. See, it's the simple prayers like that that are what we need eventually to carry on. As future parents, we need to review our own values and see the place of Jesus in our life, because these are the values your own children will eventually learn. So, for now, and people say that I'm so picky when it comes to finding someone, which is true, but, as Dan nods his head in the back, but it's true. I mean, I don't want to find just any Joe Schmo off the street. I have to find someone who I know will have the same values as I do, who I know who will be able to raise my children, the way that I think they should be raised, which is according to God's plan. And, going to church on Sundays, not going to church and playing out in the vestibule outside, but actually going to church, sitting down at the pews. It's funny because like I said, my sister has these 3 boys, and we go to Mass together as much as we can, as a whole family. So we usually take up a huge pew, because there's 4 of us girls. I'm the oldest, Angeli's the youngest, and then my sister, who comes right after me, is the one who's married with 3 boys. But when my oldest nephew was going to Mass, every time the priest would raise the host for consecration, she would tell my nephew to be quiet, because this is when Jesus becomes Jesus. The bread becomes Jesus, and so the thing that my nephew unfortunately remembers was the most famous line that came out was, "Sit down and be quiet." But he knew at that young age, he was probably about 3 at that time, that at the time of consecration, we needed to show reverence. So we needed to be quiet. So it's those simple things that we need to start to share with our future family. And those are the things that we want to start thinking about, as single men and women. Maybe we're not quite ready for marriage yet, but those are the things that we need to really start looking for when we're looking for our future husband, or for the brothers, your future wife. That these people would be able to bring up your family in the way that God has His plan for us, for the family. God's plan also is a place for training leaders. In 1 Timothy, it says that he must manage his own household well, keeping his children under control with perfect dignity. For if a man does not know how to manage his own household, how can he take care of the church of God? So, a man who is a proven leader will be able to help and teach his family. And like I said, in my family, before, it was my mom who would always be, let's go to church, it's First Friday Mass, let's go, or, we're going to go say the rosary. But once my dad joined community, he realized his role was to really be the priest, the provider, and the protector of the family. So he was able to carry on that role, with my mom, kind of moving back to the background and letting my dad take that role. And for us, we're all girls, so, but my dad is also training us that we also need to be able to realize that there are going to be, eventually, when we find our future spouse, that we will be able to have this in the future to look forward to. And we can see through my mom the role that we have to take in raising our family and how we can be able to support our husbands. So we also need to realize that in God's plan, the family is the domestic church, is a domestic church. Parents, especially like I said, the fathers, are the priests of the family. They are the ones who are going to be present, and they need to present their family to God. So they be able to really grow and to really know about the Lord. So how do we do this? It's, like I said, family prayer, and in the community in Couples for Christ, there's a beautiful prayer which we used to do often with CFC, and they do a Lord's Day, and there's a blessing of the children. So it's these things. When we were younger, like I said, my parents joined community Couples for Christ back in 1986 in the Philippines. So we've kind of been in community for such a long time that some of it kind of is like second nature to us. But when we were younger, especially when I moved away from college, my parents and the rest of our family would pray over me, you know, just for blessing, for protection, those kinds of things. So these are the things that, you know, that as a family we do together. So that is God's plan, you know, and by no means is my family perfect, trust me. Today alone we were getting, it's like, oh my God, there's so much going on at our house, and there's so much things going on. But you know, in the whole scheme of things, it is really the core of what's being taught and what's really within the family. Like I said, my parents and us were by no means like always happy. No. We get into fights, you know, it's the whole typical thing. But we really need to realize the core essence of what God's purpose is in the family. And we just try to strive to get to that part. Unfortunately, in today's world, this plan isn't happening in God. God's plan is not happening in society. Why is this not happening? One of the reasons is family is so lost in today's society that it's manifested in many different things. You know, parents are no longer bringing up their children in the discipline and instruction of God. They think, oh, well, you know, you're doing a good job, spoil, spoil, spoil. And I have a lot of students who come my way who I'm going, this kid is just so spoiled rotten that they try to get away with everything, and they think that even at school they can get away with things. I have a student who thinks he can get away with everything. He pulled last year the, I'm so exhausted, I can't do anything, move to me. And I said, oh really? Then go sit down, you're not going out for recess. And that nearly killed him. He said, think again next time, because you pull that, you need work to do and you need to finish this. So unless you finish it, well, he finished it on time, but he still didn't get to go out to recess, because that was a lesson that he needed to learn. Because the parents just give in and take, you know, give in to whatever they want right away. And I'm strict, so, you know. But it's just that there's a lot of kids today who parents just want to, they want that instant gratification right away, that they lose sight of that these kids need discipline. And they also want that discipline because then you lose, you know, your good work habits, your good skills, and all of these things. So in Ephesians, it says, and you fathers, do not make rebels of your children, but educate them by correction and instruction which the Lord may inspire. You know, like I said, I have 3 nephews, and sometimes they drive us bananas when they come over. But there are times when they don't do the right thing, and you know, they go on timeouts, they sometimes go kicking and screaming the timeout, but they go on timeout, or you know, something is taken away from them. And that's something that is missing in today's world. People just want to give it right away, or they look through modern psychology and maybe they'll do a little reverse psychology. Maybe if I said, oh, that's so bad for you, they'll do it because they think it's so bad for them. But that's not really what we should be teaching our children. We should really be teaching them, if it's bad, there's a reason why it's bad. If it's good, there's a reason why it's good. Because if you do the reverse psychology all the time, they might think, oh, those kids over there that are hanging out, drinking, that's bad. Well, then maybe I guess I should be doing that as well. You know, in the future, in the long run, they might not quite be able to distinguish what's really right and what's really wrong. And in today's society, these things are not happening because husband and wife sometimes do not follow God's order for them. You know, there is such a confusion of roles today that sometimes there are 2 dudes or 2 chicks in the picture. And sometimes the commitment for others is a little bit shaky. Therefore, they cannot be dependent on, and sometimes the husband or the wife becomes insecure in these terms. So, another reason why God's plan isn't happening is there's such a stress on materialism these days that people want an easy life, you know? And it's okay to be able to provide for your family, but I really, recently somebody told me that, you guys all know Steve Carell, you know the guy? He's a pretty funny guy, right? He decided to stop working with The Office, right? And a lot of people were kind of bummed about that. And somebody told me that one of the reasons why he decided to do that was because he wanted to spend time with his kids. Because he says, you know, my kids are young, they're only young once, and he wanted to be able to spend that time with them. When a lot of people are thinking, oh man, my career's taken off, I should be going. And it just shows you how there are still some people who actually want to spend time with their family instead of going for, you know, the almighty dollar. So the family in itself sometimes is losing its importance. And through the years, many of the possibilities have been taken over by other groups in society. A lot of people depend on the teachers. Oh, well then you should be able to discipline my kid. Well, you know, you can't do corporal punishment. No, I'm just kidding. But we can't, you know, we can't discipline them the way that some parents can. It's a different effect that teachers have and a different effect that a parent has. Because every time a parent would come to me and she says, they're well behaved in class. I'm like, yeah, they're like one of my good students. They're like, oh, they're not like that at home. But because it's a different role that they play. They know it's mommy and daddy, so they know how to, you know, manipulate them and make their buttons go. But that's why the responsibility for us, the responsibility shouldn't be just on us teachers or on the educational system, but it should really come from the family unit. You know, in other countries, the kids are left at factories or off, you know, working hard labor type of thing. So that's where they think that their responsibility is. That's where they should be able to get all of their growth, their morals, their values, and all of that stuff. And a lot of times, you know, as kids, when I was younger, all you wanted to do was hang out and go out with your friends and, you know, go to the mall and those kinds of things. So these are the things that are taking us away from really, truly what God's plan is. And of course, today we also see that there's a lot of modern recreation, right? And it leaves little interaction within the family. You know, we've got TV, we've got video games, we've got the iPhone, you know, people texting all the time. One time I was out to dinner and I saw this couple and all they were doing was texting. And I'm thinking, God, I hope they're not texting to each other because they're right across from each other. But that's all he did for like a good 15 minutes. And I'm going, that is kind of sad. I don't know if you've watched, I know there's a lot of How I Met Your Mother parent people here. There was the episode where they were showing, kids, this was how it was before, you know, we got smartphones, and they were all arguing and debating and all that stuff. And really, we really are losing that communication within the family because all we're doing is text, you know, video, and I'm not saying, I'm really guilty of this because sometimes, you know, my nephews are like, come, let's play, and, you know, they want to play like a Wii game or something like that, which is good, but I'm like, no, wait, hang on, I'm looking at this text, or I'm looking at this, you know, this video or something like that. But, you know, I'm guilty of that because I know that instead of being able to go and play with my nephews or being able to teach them, that's not the right way to play. You know, you need to be a good sport type of thing. I'm kind of letting them find their own devices. And then that could lead to things that come from more of the outside world that's not quite right. And I'm not able to direct them to find the correct path. So